You are about to enter a territory that almost no one has the courage to step into, a place where silence is worth more than any word, and where the human mind can be guided without the other person even realizing it. This is the manual of dark attraction. It's not about manipulation in the vulgar sense of the word, but about understanding the invisible forces that shape desire, attention, and behavior. If you learn to master these forces, you will make any woman think about you constantly. And the most interesting part is that she will believe it was her idea. The first principle is simple, but brutally powerful. Never give everything at once. The human mind does not desire what it possesses. It desires what it almost possesses. Curiosity is a door that can never be fully open or fully closed. It needs to remain slightly ajar. To do that, use intentional, quiet, and slightly incomplete responses, not to seem mysterious on purpose, but to activate the oldest psychological trigger of the species, the need to complete mental patterns. She will try to fill in what you left unsaid with her imagination, and her imagination will always be more powerful than anything you could actually say. The second principle is that her emotions must be guided without her realizing they are being guided. To do this, reduce your presence during moments of emotional peak and increase it during moments of emotional emptiness. When she is at the height of a stimulus, don't compete with what she's feeling. Let her brain register that the peak does not include you. But when the stimulus drops, when dopamine fades, when her silence becomes uncomfortable, that's when you appear. Not too early, not too late. Just at the moment when absence turns into psychological latency. She will associate you with the feeling of relief, and that creates gradual emotional dependence. The third principle is silent prediction. You don't say what she wants to hear. You say a small part of what she is already thinking. To do this, learn to notice speech patterns, hesitations, and micro shifts in mood. Don't confront. Don't expose. Don't force. Just say sentences that seem to float in the air as if they were pulled directly from her thoughts. This generates a subconscious feeling of inevitable connection. She feels that you understand nuances no one else notices. And it's in this emotional opening that fascination is born. The fourth principle is to never be completely accessible. Don't disappear, but make your presence something that cannot be predicted. The human mind doesn't get addicted to what is constant. It gets addicted to what is intermittent. An irregular pattern creates emotional fluctuation that she tries to decode. And it's precisely this attempt that makes you occupy mental space. Strategic absence creates more impact than any exaggerated display of interest. When you appear, your presence becomes an event. When you step back, it becomes a mystery. And between event and mystery, she gets trapped in a cycle you control without ever raising your voice. The fifth principle is the silent seed. Instead of telling her what you want her to think, plant phrases that expand on their own inside her. Something light, ambiguous, open-ended, that creates an internal echo impossible to ignore. The more she tries to understand it, the deeper you enter her mental field. And as you observe this silent process happening within her, something becomes clear. True transformation never comes from absolute control, but from the courage to allow the mind to slowly reveal what you avoided your entire life. Now we reach the most sensitive part of the Dark Attraction Manual, transforming emotional presence into silent influence. Here, you don't force anything. You allow her own mind to do the work for you. The key is simple. Become the stimulus she doesn't know she's looking for. Not the most intense, not the most obvious, but the most memorable, the one that lingers. To do this, you must master the technique of the minimal emotional anchor. It consists of creating a single moment of calculated intensity, surrounded by vast, controlled calm. A subtle gesture, a look that lasts 1 second longer, a barely noticeable smile, something small enough to feel natural, but deep enough to register in the subconscious. An emotional anchor works because the human brain doesn't record constant presence. It records contrast. What is rare becomes valuable. What is unexpected becomes memorable. And what is memorable becomes addictive. That single moment creates an emotional return point inside her. Whenever her mind searches for meaning, it returns to that instant. She tries to interpret it, analyze it, understand it, and the more she tries, the more you embed yourself in her thoughts. Obsession begins when the brain tries to solve something unclear, and you never offer full clarity, just enough to create tension. After that comes the technique of guided absence. You don't disappear. You simply withdraw during moments of highest emotional probability. Whenever she feels a slight frustration, a small doubt, an internal silence, that's when you're not available. This micro-delay doesn't create anger. It creates anticipation. Her mind begins projecting possibilities, and every emotional projection is, by definition, an investment. Each thought about you strengthens the bond. You don't need to push anything. She moves closer because she feels the gap created by your absence. The third technique is calibrated uncertainty. This isn't coldness. It isn't indifference. It isn't a cheap game. It's the ability to keep your intentions slightly out of focus. You say things that can mean two things at the same time. You respond naturally, but without fully resolving the emotional question. You allow interpretation to matter more than information. When the mind has to interpret, it stays active. And an active mind attaches itself to the stimulus that activated it. The fourth technique is the inverted emotional mirror. Instead of reflecting her emotions, you reflect the absence of them. If she tries to provoke you, you remain neutral. If she pulls away, you remain steady. If she tries to measure your reaction, you offer only calm. This breaks patterns and disarms defenses. She begins to realize she can't emotionally control you. And everything we can't control becomes more interesting. This isn't rebellion, it's internal mastery, the kind most people never develop. The fifth technique is suspended expectation. When you're about to intensify a connection, you pull back slightly. Not to punish, but to create emotional space. She feels that something is about to happen, but it doesn't. This creates a micro state of positive anxiety. The brain releases dopamine in anticipation, not in completion. And when that dopamine is associated with you, attraction intensifies. You become the emotional trigger, not through constant presence, but through your ability to activate the anticipation cycle. Finally, there is the last technique, silent suggestion. You don't tell her what to feel. You speak about universal sensations indirectly. Things like, sometimes certain people have a strange effect on us, or some connections don't make sense, but they're impossible to ignore. These phrases create emotional identification. She starts wondering if those sensations apply to you, and when someone reflects on that, even for a few seconds, they are already emotionally involved. In the end, true attraction doesn't come from intensity. It comes from precision. It doesn't come from noise, but from well-used silence. It doesn't come from chasing, but from the calculated pause. And when you master these principles, you don't need to fight for her attention. She gives it to you freely, not because you asked, but because your presence became impossible to avoid. And now that you've walked through every hidden layer of her mind, there's something you need to understand. Influence is not about control, it's about perception. When you see what no one else sees, you begin to occupy a place inside her that no one can replace. That's how you become the constant presence, the recurring thought, the inevitable desire. Most men try to win through insistence. You do it through strategic silence, through reading details, through understanding everything she tries to ignore in herself. If you want to go deeper into this power and access techniques I can't explain here, the Dark Attraction Manual is in the description. That's where I reveal the part of the game that happens behind the scenes, where desire is truly shaped. And before you leave, subscribe and activate notifications. The next videos will elevate your psychological perception to a level where nothing in human behavior will seem like a mystery. Here, you don't learn how to play. You learn how to command the board.